get started. All right. Okay. To briefly recap from the last session. First of all, I shared that story with you about Johnny and his father. And basically, the moral of that story is put the man together and his world is together. And you know, that's exactly what Jesus was telling us in Luke chapter 17 and verse 21. When men shall say, lo here or lo there, go not after them. The kingdom of God is within you. And I'm sure you've heard it many times. It's all within you. It's all within you and I. That's the whole rationale behind our first book, Success, It's Your Birthright. It's all within you. But how do we express? How do we manifest? How do we reveal? How do we outform that which is inside us? How do we express it so that it helps us to get the results we want in life? How do we change things, make things, and rearrange things in our lives? Well, the first thing I want you and I to realize is this. It's an inside job. It does not depend on what's going on out there or what anyone else is doing. Leave people alone. For lack of a better expression, mind your own business. Just like I have to mind my own business. Because you know what, at the end of the day, if it is to be, it's up to you. And no one else is going to do it for you. So how do we make things, change things, and rearrange things? First of all, as I mentioned, we have to exercise our God-given powers of initiative and selection. And in this regard, we have to recognize our true identity. Well, if you're telling me right now you don't know what your true identity is, it's very simple. Every quality you've ever attributed to God, that is a quality of you. So if you think God is love, you are love. If you think God is peace, you are peace. If you think God is abundance, you are abundant. Every constituent of God is a constituent of you. So that's how you recognize your qualities. Okay? And there are many other books that you can read that will get into more details on that. If you have any questions or you need some help in figuring out some resources that can help you, send me an email. I'll be more than glad to help you. So the first one is you have to recognize your true identity, not the identity that society has put on you. When I'm talking about your true identity, I'm not talking about your political affiliation, your religious belief, your occupation, your sex, your gender. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about your real identity. And to kind of give you an overview of who you really are, of your true identity, there's a quotation that goes like this. If you can describe it, it's not God. And since I know beyond a shadow of doubt that you and I are created in the image and likeness of God, then all I have to say to you is this. If you can describe you, it's not you. It's part of you. It's a way you express yourself. It's the form you take, but you're more than that. So the first thing is you have to recognize your true identity. Now, once you recognize the qualities that make up your true identity, now you have to assume those qualities. That's the second step. You have to assume it. And then number 3, you have to find a way for that which you embody to flow out. The best way, well, not the best way, one of the simplest ways I know to do that is to apply what it's called the law of reversibility. It's also called the law of inverse proportion. And the law goes something like this. If a physical fact can produce a psychological state, then a psychological state can produce a physical fact. Let me break it down for you. If a physical fact of abundance can produce a psychological state of ecstasy, euphoria, excitement, then obviously a psychological state of ecstasy, excitement, euphoria can create a physical fact of abundance. Another way to describe that law is what Jesus made reference to in Mark 11:24, which simply says, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you have received it and you shall have it. That's the law of reversibility in a nutshell. If a physical fact can produce a psychological state, then a psychological state can produce a physical fact. What does this really mean? So let's say one of the qualities you want to see revealed in your life, in your world, is the quality of being joyful, being vibrant, being optimistic. Then all you have to ask yourself is this: if I were joyful, optimistic, and excited right now, what would have to happen in my environment? What would my environment look like? What will trigger it? Once you can figure out what that trigger is, then you assume that virtue. You pretend as if you are experiencing what you would experience. And by virtue of you assuming that virtue, you will produce that result in your life. Again, I don't want to keep this video too long, but to kind of summarize, apply the law of reversibility to change your life. If a physical state can produce a psychological, if a physical fact can produce a psychological state, then a psychological state can produce a physical fact. So here's the question to you. What is the physical fact you want to see manifest in your world? What state, what psychological state will that produce? Once you know what that psychological state is, then concentrate, pretend, act as if you're experiencing that psychological state. And that psychological state will produce that physical fact. If you want to lose weight, pretend as if you've already lost the weight. And that pretense will produce the fact for you if you stick with it. Okay? So I want to thank you very much again for listening, and we'll catch up on this later on. This is one of those topics that we just have to go over again and again and again and again. But I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, write me, shoot me an email, whatever, leave a comment, and we'll love to hear from you. Okay? Take care.